Hello students, welcome, welcome, welcome. I apologize for the delay here. For those that have seen our videos before, you guys can probably tell that I am not in our normal Star Tutors studio here. Unfortunately, we're all dealing with it. We had a little bit of a COVID issue, so we had to quarantine outside of, we essentially couldn't go back to the normal area. So here we are trying to get everything set up, which is part of the reason for the delay. We should be back on tomorrow. But yeah, you guys, it kind of goes back to everything that we've been talking about. I am Chase, by the way. I am going to be the teacher. If you guys haven't joined us before, welcome. For those that have registered for our classroom programs, welcome to you guys for sure. If you haven't registered, just remember that today's live stream for the Proctored practice test is available to every student, regardless of whether or not you're in the classroom programs. But starting tomorrow, when we get kicked off with the first lesson, we will let's see. Yeah, when we get kicked off with the first lesson tomorrow, it will go. We will go to. Sorry, when we get kicked off with the first lesson tomorrow, we'll go back to private streaming, so it will only be available to those who have registered for our classroom programs. Is that cool, guys? Again, once you guys get into once you guys get into the class, if you haven't said hello yet already, please let us know that you guys are here. Give us a hello, that'd be great. And again, we'll get kicked off with this first Proctored practice test. If you guys are interested in taking our classroom programs, again, because this Proctored practice test will be the only one available to all students. If you want to take our classroom program that starts tomorrow, please let us know. And yeah, guys, we'll keep going from here. Okay, so again, if you haven't said hello yet, please do so. I am Chase. I will be your teacher for the classroom programs, for everything else. Okay, and then on top of that, guys, I sent out emails for those that are in our classroom programs, or if you're just taking the test on your own today. We're going to lead you through it. If you have any general questions about the test, please let us know those now. Please refrain from asking any questions related specifically to how this practice test is going to go, only because I'm going to tell you, but we're going to walk through that whole process. So don't feel like you're going to be, left in the dark by any means on that note. But in the meantime, again, guys, just make sure that you have your practice test form in front of you for the ACT and SAT students. Please make sure that you have your bubble sheet in front of you so you're ready to go. Those should be printed. A snack, because this is going to be a long test. A water bottle. Again, you can have the water bottle on your desk in the real testing environment the entire time. As well as snack, water bottle, pencil. And then the only other item that you would need on test day that you wouldn't need today, obviously because you're taking it at home, is you'd also need your student ID. So you'll have when you guys take the real test, you'll have a student ID and a student ticket that you'll print out from the ACT or the SAT College Board website. And when you print that out, you'll need that and then a photo ID. You don't need those today, of course. I'm not going to ask you guys to show your photo IDs to take a practice test, but just know that you guys are going to need those. Okay? And again, for those that didn't hear my my intro here, you guys, for those that have watched our videos in the past, you guys will probably recognize that we're not in the normal Star Tutor studio that we normally film from. That is because we're all dealing with kind of the new effects of COVID and just trying to work around that. Unfortunately, we have to quarantine, so we've been one of our employees had to quarantine, so we have to be out of the offices for right now. Or out of the studio. So guys, again, welcome. If you guys haven't been with us before, welcome. If you guys have been with us, can everybody give me a thumbs up in the chat? If you're taking the practice test today, can everybody give me a thumbs up in the chat if you have those items I mentioned, that you have your test form printed out, that you have your bubble sheet, that you have a snack, a water bottle, and a pencil, and a calculator. Please make sure you have a calculator obviously for the math section of the test. And we'll lead you through this, guys. Cool. Everybody good? Okay, great. Okay, guys, so before we get started here, I want to mention a few things. And by the way, if anybody is interested in our classroom programs that's not already registered, again, this first proctored test will be available to everybody. But if you want to join our classroom programs that start tomorrow, you definitely can. So I'm just going to type in for more information. If you're already registered, of course, you don't need to do anything else. Okay, so that's for anybody that wants to register, hasn't registered. You guys just see that link that I just posted. On top of that, guys, one of the things that I am very, very adamant about, and if for those, most of you guys haven't seen these videos, or if you have, again, welcome back. But for those that have listened to me talk in our other live streams and seen some of our other videos, one of the things that I try to do more than anything is try to be positive. Give me a thumbs up, guys, or just say I am. If any of you guys feel anxious about these tests, I can't stress to you how impressed I am with all of you, juniors and sophomores and seniors. This is unlike any other time that's ever happened, truly in generations, right? Going back to maybe World War II, no students have had to deal with just kind of this crazy, just the craziness that's going on, and it's a testament to you guys to continue to put your head down, continue to work hard. I can't stress how impressed I am by that, and that's what we have to continue to do. Okay, if you guys are stressed about these exams, if you feel a little overwhelmed about these exams, that's totally normal, and it's only increased by the fact that we have all these crazy things going on, just COVID and are you in school? Are you out of school? Are we going to go back to school? Is it virtual? All that kind of stuff only adds to the stress. When am I going to take the test, right? And so we want to make sure, Drew, yeah, right, you guys aren't alone. I want to do everything in my power to stay as positive as possible and to try to reduce any stress and any anxiety that you guys are feeling, because that is the key to test taking. For all of you guys that are sitting there being like, well, I'm just not a great test taker, that really doesn't exist. What does exist is if you feel anxious and stressed about a test, then if you guys feel absolutely stressed about what you're doing, about this exam, then that's what makes you a poor test. That's what adds to the bad test taking, right? Or whatever you want to call it. If we can reduce that anxiety and stress throughout the classroom program, you guys are going to find that the content on the SAT and the ACT, either test, is not very hard. Is sitting there for 3.5 hours staying focused hard? Absolutely. Right? No question in my mind that when you guys get to the last section of either exam today, you're going to be like, man, this stinks. Get me out of here. I have a million other things that I want to do right now than take this exam. By the way, at no point during this program are you guys going to sit there being like, I can't wait to see Chase today for SAT work or ACT work. Right? That's never going to happen. I know 16, 17-year-olds, and it's just never going to happen, and that's okay. Okay, because if you guys are willing to work hard for something that really kind of stinks in general, right? Nobody's really sitting here being like, let's get this test going. I love this, right? This is how I want to spend 3.5 hours on my Saturday morning. But if you can put the time and the effort into something like that, then imagine what you can do when you're actually doing something you want to be doing. The thing I regret most when I was your age was not working nearly as hard as I needed to. I happen to be a good test taker for a couple of reasons that I'll continue to mention throughout the program. I love to read. Okay, we'll talk about how important that is tomorrow for anybody that's joining the classroom lessons. If you don't read regularly, and students are reading less and less as we continue, technology continues. If you don't read regular, that's a huge issue if you're trying to score in the top 5%. A 30 on the ACT or a 1370 on the SAT is in the top 5%. So 1370, 30 and above is in the top 5% of all students. I have never met a student who doesn't read regularly or who doesn't choose then to start reading regularly that is able to score in that range, because it's just very difficult if you're not a great reader. Remember, we are in January of your junior or some sophomore years, right? Some of you guys are sophomores even that are taking the program. You have plenty of time to be a better reader, but it starts today. You got to keep putting in the work, because if you don't, it's just not going to. So because I happen to love to read, despite I was super lazy and everything else in my life, I did well on these exams because my mom's a math teacher and just refused to let me not do my math homework. That helped me on an exam like this. But I was so lazy that's the only thing this helped with. Because I was so lazy, I didn't have any stress, I didn't have any anxiety as a kid ever. That is the worst trait in the world, that complacency, that laziness when you're doing anything else. When you get to a test like this and you read a lot and you know some math stuff, then all of a sudden, and you don't get anxious and stressed, then that takes away. And that's what we're really going to be focused on throughout the program, showing you guys tips and strategies that will allow you to relax, stay focused on the exam, what you're doing instead of how you're doing. Not thinking about mid-exam being like, oh, I'm doing so bad, I'm never going to get into Harvard, my mom's going to be so mad at me, whatever, right? If you think like that, then you're not thinking about the next question. You're thinking about all the bad things that could happen. If we focus on the next question, which leads me into this next part, and during these practice tests, guys, I'm always going to give you a little bit of a warm-up. We're always going to start maybe 30 minutes after the live stream starts, because I want you guys to get a feel for what mindset you need going into this test to maximize your score. Rev, thanks so much for the comment. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Anytime you guys have great comments like that and you guys want to watch the channel, it inspires us to do more of these videos and practice tests, so thank you. So guys, here's what I want to talk about today, okay? There's two things that you should always have in your mind before you start these tests. One is the number of questions you should answer correctly. 1,636 are mythical scores. There's nothing else in your life ever. I can't think of anything beyond this where you're graded, okay? Where you're graded on a 36 or 1,600 scale. So we can't put it in that regard, okay? So in the background of my screen here, you guys are going to see a sample SAT scale. Okay, I'm going to use the SAT today as an example, but ACT applies in the same way. Okay, maybe we'll even talk about the ACT in a second. So this is not the test that you guys are looking at today, for those that are in our classroom programs. But if you guys look in the background of my screen now, okay, you guys are going to see some things that are very, very important as it relates to the SAT exam, and this again is related to the ACT exam as well. This test cannot be thought of as a test of, how do I answer, I don't know, my pencil's not working. Okay, this test cannot be one of those things where you guys think about the score, because if you think about the score, it's going to go really poorly really quickly. You don't know what that score means, right? There's nothing in your lives that you guys have ever done that relates to an SAT or an ACT score. Is that fair? Right? So instead of thinking about it like the SAT and the ACT, right, let's instead think about it in terms of the number of questions we need to answer correctly. So guys, if you're looking at this scale, right, this is a true SAT scale for those that are taking the test. It's not the same one that you guys are going to see today, but it's close. If you get 58 math questions, right, there's 58 total questions between the two sections of the math test, then you get an 800. Okay, but rather than setting our sights on the best possible scenario, it's like, why you don't need me talking if you are going to get an 800 on the math test today without any work or help. So you don't need me talking about an 800. Instead, think about the goal score that you have in mind for the math test and make it realistic. Don't think about the best situation possible. Again, if that happens, great. You don't need me talking, right? You don't need me here if the best possible situation happens to you every time at every moment in your life. Let's instead plan a realistic goal. Okay, so if you think on the math section, if you're a pretty good math student and you want to try to get 40 questions right? You can miss 18 questions and still get a 600 on the SAT math test. If you get a 600 on the SAT math test, you're in the top, 10, 12, 15% of all students that take this exam. And guess what, guys? That means that you can skip 18 questions in order to focus on the 40 questions that you do know how to do on the math test. Same is true for every section of the exam. Okay, guys, so again, I implore you, and we're going to be so much more in depth with this as we continue to go through the classroom program, but I absolutely implore you guys to make sure that you're not thinking about this exam in terms of a score or how you're going to impress your parents or how you're going to get into XYZ school. Instead, because that was never a thought. The reason I did well on these exams as a kid had nothing to do with me thinking about these tests. It had everything to do with me not thinking about these tests and just trying to answer as many questions as I could correctly. If you're taking the ACT today, okay, if you guys are taking the ACT exam today, right, this is an ACT scale. There are 60 questions on the math test, or better yet, there are 40 questions on reading. Rather than going through this and being totally stressed about how am I going to get done with the test, which is how we've been taught in school our entire lives, think about this. If you get 31 questions, that means you can skip 9 and give yourself the extra time that you would have spent on those 9 questions and rushed through the whole test. You can get 31 questions right on the ACT reading section and still get a 28. Better yet, and we're going to talk a lot about this in our programs, if you get 31 questions right and you're sure of those 31, there is no penalty for guessing on the ACT or the SAT. So if you can get to 31 questions answered correctly and you guess the rest of the way down, statistically speaking, you're going to get 2 or 3 more questions right. When we get to the classroom programs, there's actually an even more effective strategy in terms of guessing. You could guess if you get 31 questions right and then you save 2 minutes at the end just to guess on the last 9 and not rush through the whole test. On the ACT reading test today, you could get a 31 by only getting 31 out of 40 questions right. Guys, in school, this would be a C+. Okay, in school, a C+ for 31 out of 40. That's the actual percentage numbers. This scale helps you so much that if you can be accurate on 31 questions and not worry about the other 9, guess on those because there's no penalty for guessing, right? You can get a 34 out of 40 questions right, which ends up being a 31 on the ACT reading test. This is in the top, I don't know, 5% of all students that take the reading test. So does that make sense? Again, for those students that are in the classroom program, we're going to get into this in a lot more depth and really give you guys a lot of confidence and reduce that anxiety and stress so much. But can everybody give me 2 thumbs up in the chat if this general idea makes sense? This idea of like, hey, if I'm focused on accuracy rather than timing, right, I will do really well on this exam. The biggest misconception about the SAT and the ACT is that timing matters. And it's particularly true of the ACT because for those that know about the ACT, people think of it as very time sensitive. That is not the case at all if you really understand the ACT exam. And again, for those students in our classroom programs, we're going to continue to work on this as we go and really set realistic goals for ourselves to hit this number of questions and to be accurate on that number. Because if you do that, your score, if I know you can be accurate on 30 questions, then your timing, we can work slowly but surely on the timing aspect of this. And if you're 30 out of 40, but I know you can get those 30 questions right, then all of a sudden we can do 32 out of 40 because of little tweaks, right? And then all of a sudden we can get 34 right. But until we have that accuracy down and I feel comfortable that you have that accuracy, we're going to run into some problems because then not focusing on timing and not accuracy makes these very, very volatile scores where one day you get a 33 and the next day you get a 27 and you have no idea why. If you're focused on accuracy, you'll hit your bottom score, your floor score, worst possible day. You'll hit that score every single time and then you just slowly raise that floor, right? And that's what we're going to be really focused on. Is that cool, guys? Everybody good to go? Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about before we officially get started with these exams, the practice exam today, and then guys, for anybody that has any general questions about the test, I'm going to be online after we get everybody started with the test, and I'm happy to answer those questions. I'll be on and I'll explain that here in a second. But the final thing that I want to bring up before we get officially started with this test is things that I didn't do as a kid. Okay, I never did this. I in sports and anything in the play, right? I was in the play. I played sports. I never ever warmed up, and that was a huge mistake. If you warm up, even when I was supposed to, like if you played on sports teams, you're supposed to show up an hour early. I'd go find a reason to be in the locker room, like just messing around. And it worked for me because I was still okay at the things that I did, but I could have been a lot better. I never maximized my potential. I never thought when I was 17 years old, hey, instead of trying to get a B- on this final so that I don't get a C, so that I keep a B- in the class rather than going down to a C+, right? I always thought that way instead of thinking maybe I could get an A on this test and then do really well. I never thought about how I could maximize my potential, and so it never worked out. And so I don't want you guys to be in that same situation. Take what I have learned that didn't work well for me and try to apply it to yourself so that if you don't warm up, right, normally, then that's a problem and let's fix that today. If you warm up normally for sports or if you're in the play or if you do any extracurricular activity, typically we do warm up for those things. So if we warm up for those things, right, and this test is way more important on a long-term basis than one sport activity a week, then we should probably warm up for this test as well. So what I want everybody to do, okay, and you guys will see this in the background of my screen, I'd like everybody, if you haven't already, to create a StarU student account. Okay, so that's www.staru.co, okay, or you can find it in the App Store or Google Play, okay, under StarU. If you guys copy that link, if you're on your computer now, www.staru.co, copy that, or download this in the App Store or Google Play. And I'd like everybody to take 5 minutes right now. And I know this, we're doing this warm up for a little bit longer than you guys probably thought, but I want you guys to download Star U, and I want you to create a student account. It takes 5 minutes at most. I want everybody to do that now because we have put all of our tutorial information on the app. So if you click ACT and SAT practice lessons once you've logged in on the home screen, I want you to do some practice problems before we start the exam today, right? Just like you do in any other extracurricular activity. Okay, so we're going to say, that's okay, I'll just self-study again on the home screen, right? We're going to go to ACT and SAT practice lessons. Please, guys, make sure that everybody's doing that now. Okay. Give me 1 sec here, guys. Please make sure everybody's doing that now. Plug in the charger for my computer while you guys are not doing that. Okay, and while you guys are creating that student account, then we're going to do some warm-up practice problems just like you guys would do probably in anything else that you did in your lives. Okay, can everybody give me a thumbs up when you guys have that open? Thumbs up when you guys are ready to go. Then you click on the home screen. Again, ACT and SAT practice lessons. When you guys have that open and you're ready to go, can everybody give me a thumbs up that you guys are creating that Star U student account? That you have it open. You click ACT and SAT practice lessons on the home page. Okay, then just say that's okay, self-study. And I want you guys to be doing practice problems now, right? Click ACT English if you're taking the ACT today, and just do a few grammar questions, right? Click verb tense if you want something to be relatively straightforward. Just click verb tense. All of the tutorial information is right here. It doesn't mean that you have to read through that now because obviously it's just a warm-up, but click the tap to start button and you guys can do 5 ACT English practice problems. Okay, and again, this is so important for you guys to be doing right now. It's so important that you do this on real test day. This doesn't just stop when I'm not there to proctor the exam. On real test day, of course, we want you guys to be doing this exact same thing. If you're taking the SAT today, okay, if you're taking the SAT today, just click. You can just click SAT right at the top of the screen instead of ACT. Just do the slider button over the SAT. The SAT reading section is pretty difficult. It's the hardest section of the SAT, and unfortunately for SAT test takers, you have to start with that test. That's okay. You get to end with the easier section, so the ACT gets kind of warmed up with one of the easier sections with ACT English. But the SAT test takers, you get the hard one out of the way first, and so when the endurance kind of kicks in at the end, there's give and take, right, for each one of those. But I would avoid doing SAT reading practice problems right off the bat. Instead, I would click SAT writing and language on the app. And then just do again, the SAT writing and language and the ACT English section are almost identical. And just click whatever, verb tense, right? Click tap to start and just do 5 verb tense lesson problems, right? Keep it simple. This doesn't mean that you guys need to be doing the hardest single problems to get yourselves warmed up. Nobody ever does that. But I want you to start thinking about, okay, I'm about to take a test. This test covers these topics. All of this content that you guys are seeing, these questions are written by our current ACT and SAT tutors. And so there's really no reason not to be warming up with these questions. You can do this on your phone too. So if you're doing it on your computer today, that's fine. But when we get to the real test, you guys can all have this on your phone and be doing warm-up problems while everybody else is freaking out in line while they're waiting to register for the real test. Doing that whole thing like, oh, I'm going to fail this, I don't want to be here, blah, 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 talking about the night before, talking about what they're going to do after the test. You guys can be on your phones doing practice problems, getting ready, thinking about the actual exam. Just like you do in any other extracurricular, if this test, and it does, right, for better or for worse, this test means infinitely more than any single sports activity or play or extracurricular activity in every way. If you're going to warm up for those things, then it's probably pretty important to warm up for this as well. So we're going to take about 4 minutes. We're a little bit running late on time because of all the technical stuff that we had at the beginning, trying to move basically our entire studio to here. So we're going to take about 4 minutes here. I want everybody to be doing some practice problems. You can read a little bit, do whatever it takes to get yourself in the mindset that, hey, I'm going to take a practice test here in a second and I need to be ready to go for that test. Okay? Do whatever it takes. If you finish one of the sections, if you get through the 5 verb tense problems, then do the next 5. Right? Just to get yourself in the right mindset of, hey, I'm about ready to start this and I need to be mentally focused and mentally prepared. Okay, so maybe 3-4 more minutes. I'll stop you guys, and then we'll get started with the actual. Excuse me. We'll get started with the instructions for the actual exam. And again, guys, anybody that's asked the question, okay, anybody, David, I saw that you responded. Bhargav, I'll respond here in just a second to those. I just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get started with these, and then I'll answer any questions for those that aren't taking the practice test today. I'll make sure that I respond to all of those questions. So again, guys, we're just doing 3, 4, 5 minutes of warm-up here, thinking about the exam, thinking about what we're about to do, and then we'll get started with the real thing here in just a second. You guys are going to do great today, okay? We want all the confidence in the world. We don't want to be focused on what we aren't doing right. We want to be really focused, narrowly focused on what we are doing right. What are the things that we can knock out of the park today, and we'll do that. We'll make that happen. Okay, think about number of questions answered correctly. If you guys have to guess, and I'm just talking in the background while you guys do these warm-up problems, if you have to guess on a bunch of questions at the end of the test, okay, if you have to guess on a bunch of questions at the end of the test, but you feel really confident and accurate on the questions that you did answer, even if you have to guess on a bunch at the end, your score will be higher than if you rush through the test and just try to get it done. In the same way that we try to get a final done because we know that, hey, if I miss this question, I know I'm not going to do well. Don't think like that. Think accuracy above all else. The biggest misconception about these exams is that timing matters at all. It doesn't matter in any way. And again, for those that are in our classroom programs, I'll explain that in much more detail starting tomorrow, but I promise you that that's the case. In terms of your preparation, if you can be extremely focused on accuracy and just continue to prepare with that mindset and never be focused on timing, your floor score will rise immediately, and it will only continue to increase from there. Yeah, guys, your SAT warm-up. So if you guys, again, if you download Star U in the App Store or Google Play, or if you go to www.staru.co, I posted those just above in the chat. Either of those will allow you to, it's free, the app is free, it's free to create a student account. This content is generally free, and all I want you guys to be doing is some practice problems before we get started here. Okay, guys, I'll give you another maybe 2 minutes here or so. And then we will go. We'll get going. Rashid, let's go. Rashid, thanks so much for the nice comment. It really makes us want to continue to do these things, these videos, these live streams, continue to produce more content. For students, we're actually creating. We just came out with our PSAT tutorial. That'll be on Amazon pretty soon, and we're going to get started. Okay, guys. Lee, no worries. So yeah, I just checked it. No worries at all. I'll explain in just a second. We'll be good to go as soon as we get started with the test. Don't worry. Anybody that has any questions about this, yeah, no worries. Well, I'll explain exactly how we're going to do that. It's pretty straightforward. Rashid, again, thanks for the nice comment. It really makes us want to continue to do these things. And I'm glad, obviously, that it helped. We're going to only continue to come out with more content on Star U. We're going to try to do as many of these live streams as we can. We're going to kick it back into gear here starting this semester after a little bit of the holiday break over the new year, and then we'll get going. All right, guys, 1 more minute. If you guys are good to go, if you guys feel pretty comfortable with what we're doing, okay. Can everybody in the chat, everybody that's taking the practice test, if you're not taking the test today, no worries. Just hang tight. If you have any general questions, I'm happy to answer those while everybody gets started with the test. But if what was I going to say? But if you are starting with the test, if you are taking the test today, can everybody give me 2 thumbs up? 2 thumbs up in the chat, and we'll get started here in just a second. Guys, again, as much as you can, continue to think about how can I answer more questions accurately and correctly, not how do I rush through the test and get it done. I promise it'll make a huge difference. It feels weird having to guess on a bunch of questions because on a final, right? You feel like that's not a good strategy. But what we just showed you is that if you get a C+ on this test, but you're accurate on all of the C+ questions that you answer, and then you guess for the last 9 questions on the reading, you end up with a 31, which is a 95. Instead of a C+, you get an A. But that doesn't take away the feeling psychologically of you feeling like I'm getting a C+, because that's what you've always been taught in school. This test is heavily scaled. If you've taken an AP exam before, it's in the same way that the AP is scaled, where you miss a bunch of questions but you still get a 5. It's the same idea, the same principle with the standardized testing. So again, accuracy above all else. Accuracy above all else. Continue to tell yourself that. Okay, guys? So let's get started with the exam. Looks like everybody's ready to go if you're taking the test today. So we'll start briefly. Again, this is just going to take 2 seconds. So if you're taking the ACT exam today, okay, ACT test takers, we have, here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to post, okay, yeah, guys, so you should be printing all the pages of the SAT or ACT exam that if you're in the classroom programs. You want to print all of those because you'll go through the full test today. So here's what ACT test takers, if you have standard timing, we have recorded videos with timers on the screen. I can't stress to you guys that are taking the test today how important it is that once you start these videos that I'm about to post in the chat, once you start the video, it's very important that you don't pause the video unless the video prompts you to do so. There are breaks throughout these exams, but it's very important that you only pause or get up to do something when the video tells you to, because that's going to really proctor the real exam like you'd see it on the real test day. If you get up, if you pause the video in the middle of the timer and the timer is paused and you get up to go to the bathroom, you're not going to be allowed to do that in the real exam. Part of this is overcoming those stressful feelings and that urge to not want to continue. That's a big part of this test. So again, if the video prompts you to pause it, and there will be breaks throughout the test, and the timers will show up on the screen, it's very easy to follow this ACT and SAT video. But if you pause the video, it's not simulating the real test in the real way that we want it to. So please, once I post these videos and you click it, go follow the video all the way through. It will guide you through the entire 3.5-hour exam. Timers will appear on the screen. It'll tell you when to take breaks. It will be very important that you stay with that. On top of that, guys, what I'd like everybody who's taking the ACT test to do now, I'd like you to mute me in this live stream, or as soon as you see the test form come through, I want you to mute me in the live stream. But I want you to keep this video going, this live stream open, because I'm going to stay online. If you have any questions, I'll be live here to answer those questions for you, for those that are taking the test. So mute me. Do not exit out of this video if you're taking the test, or just put me away for a second while you click this other video that's going to guide you through the exam. Just so if you have any questions over the next couple hours, you guys can ask those questions. Okay, so guys, here's the ACT timing, standard timing. Okay, so if you guys are, 1 second here. Again, if you're taking the ACT test, go ahead and mute me now. This is the standard timing for ACT test takers. Okay, go ahead and mute this video now, live stream, but keep me open so that you can ask questions quickly without getting stressed out. That's for ACT standard timing. If you have accommodations timing, if you've been approved for accommodations timing, give me 1 second here for the ACT test takers. SAT test takers, we'll get to you guys in just 1 second. If you're taking the ACT and you've been approved for accommodations, or you've been approved for accommodations in school, give me 1 second here. Okay, so the accommodations timing for the ACT exam, ACT test takers. Okay, you guys can click this video if you have extended timing. Same instructions apply. If you have extended timing for the ACT test takers, you can mute this live stream now, but keep it open so that if you have any questions over the next couple hours, you can ask those. So that's extended timing for accommodations timing for the ACT. If you guys want to click that video, again, it will lead you all the way through the test with the accommodations timing. Okay, SAT test takers, if you're taking the SAT exam with us today, can you give me 2 thumbs up to let me know you're ready to go for the SAT? 2 thumbs up to let me know you guys are ready to go for the SAT. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep, guys. Yeah, great question. So if you guys are unable to take the test today because you don't have that 3.5-hour block, just copy those links for the ACT, and then the SAT's coming up here in a second. Give me 2 thumbs up if you're ready to go with SAT test takers. If you're not, able to take the SAT test with us today, those videos that I just posted, you can just copy that link and then start that video when you do take the test. At some point today when you do have that block of time. Okay, so SAT test takers, if you are here with us for the SAT, here's the normal timing for SAT. Okay, standard timing for the SAT test. Again, same instructions apply that I just gave the ACT test takers, SAT test takers. Okay, mute me rather. Mute me in this live stream, but if you have any questions, I'm going to be online just answering those for you guys. So please don't exit out of this live stream so that if you do have a question, you don't have to scramble to try to find it again. SAT standard timing. If you're taking the SAT, please start that video, mute me, and start that SAT standard timing video now. If you've been approved for accommodations on the SAT, okay, you guys can start this video now. Yeah, Mohammed for the live streams. If you subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications, it will prompt you or it will send out a notification whenever we post a future live stream video and it shows the date and everything. So as long as you have all notifications turned on as a subscriber to the channel, you'll get a notification through YouTube that lets you know that we're on. Is that cool? SAT test takers, if you have extended timing, okay, accommodations timing, that is the video for you. Just let me confirm that. Okay, guys, again, if you have extended timing for the SAT, you guys can click this video link. Again, mute me in the chat, or rather mute me on this live stream, but keep me open in case you do have any questions. Put me right in a window just up on the side, and then start that video and try to follow that video all the way through. The breaks are included in that extended timing video, everything. So please make sure that you try to follow it because that's what the real proctored testing will be like. If you don't pause that video all the way through, then you will have successfully taken a real proctored practice SAT exam or ACT exam for those that started earlier. Okay, guys, and that's it. I'm sorry that it took us a little bit late. It took us 10 minutes extra to get started, and then we did a 35-minute warm-up here. We were running or scrambling around here as we try to figure out this COVID stuff as well and getting kicked out of our not being able to go back to our studio stuff because of COVID. But hopefully this worked out. And guys, if you guys are trying to if you want to take an ACT or SAT practice test, if you look in the description of this video, you guys can find all of the officially released SAT and ACT exams. Just click the description or open up the show more feature in the description below this video, and you'll see that there's 2 links to all of the released SAT or ACT exams. And you guys can find those tests there. Is that cool, Annie? Yeah, Mohammed, no problem. Thanks for the question too. That was a great one. Everybody good? Any other questions here, guys, related to if you're taking the practice test today? If you're not, just hang tight for one more second while we wait and just make sure everybody's good to go to start with those, and then I'll start answering any questions that you guys generally related to the SAT or the ACT exam. David, figured I'd just say this one out loud because I completely agree with you. Adding to that, adding to what David just posted, guys. Those are two of our best videos probably. Just adding to that is beyond those two videos. Those ones are great, and then the this one, guys. This one I'm posting here. The one I just posted goes along with the ones that David mentioned. Those ones are that one's basically just putting so that 3-pass method that David mentioned. That's just putting that into practice. So that math video that I just posted, improving your math score 3 to 4 points overnight. That is a video that just puts the unique 3-pass method into practice, and specifically it puts it into practice so that you don't have to get a. I think it's going from like a 27, how to go from a 27 to a 30 on the math test rather than trying to go to a 36. So it's a great one, especially if you're kind of in that mid range, that 25 maybe to 30 range. How to improve your score very quickly if you haven't seen our 3-pass videos yet. But David, yeah, great point. Thanks for recommending those. I think those ones are perfect, and I think those are two of our best. So I'm glad you're thoroughly watching and are able to recommend those. Thanks, man. Okay, students, so it looks like for those students that are taking the practice test, it looks like all of you guys are on your way, and seems like there are no questions. The videos are pretty straightforward, the proctoring videos, so it's not surprising. If you follow those videos, all of the information is usually pretty straightforward. So I'm going to sign off now, guys. If you're interested in our virtual classes, please visit www.startutors.net/virtual. If you're not in our programs already. Otherwise, for the students that are taking the practice test that are in the classroom programs, those start tomorrow. I've posted instructions in the classroom group about what you should do after you're done with the test in order for us to grade it and score it and get everything back to you. So please follow those instructions in the classroom group. Otherwise, guys, great job. Way to work hard. I know it's not the first thing you'd want to be doing on a Saturday morning is taking practice exams for the SAT and the ACT, but it will pay off. I promise. I've done this long enough. Worked with over 1,000 students in the last 5 or 6 years, and can adequately say that the hard work is going to pay off. And that's the most important thing that you guys can be focused on as you continue to prepare for these exams. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. For the students that are in our classes, we'll see you guys tomorrow for classroom lesson number 1. If you're interested in our classes, please check out the website, www.startutors.net/virtual. And there should be some pretty straightforward explanations as to what the classes look like. Otherwise, guys, again, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks, guys. Oh, and one last thing. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. Please help us spread the word if you guys haven't already. We again want to continue to make more of these live streams, more of these videos, but we need to continue to increase our follower base in order to do that full time. So please help us with that. And otherwise, guys, yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks, guys.